All right, trying to determine where to put the exit hole for the subsoiler, or the pipe layer rather. Where should the exit hole for the pipe to come out be in relation to the blade of the subsoiler? So if I put the subsoiler straight up and down, you can see I have a block under it. So if I put the subsoiler straight up and down, where it's sitting flat on the ground, basically, which is pretty much where this part of it is straight up and down, okay? What that means is, I think, is that this blade, which is only this wide, but it's 12 inches long, if I flatten it out more, that means it's not going to cut much of a hole, and it's just going to be like a flat piece of metal going through the ground like this. The higher I tip it, or if I tip the top of the subsoiler forward, that'll tip this blade down like this. That means it'll cut a bigger hole as it's going through the ground, right? It'll still be the same width, but it'll be taller because the back end is sticking up higher. And of course you can exaggerate that, but I don't think I can get that steep out of my tractor, nor do I really need to. So I don't want to make it too flat so that there's not much room for the pipe, but I want to make it steep enough so that as the pipe comes out, there's room for it and it doesn't get squished. And then the second thing is, where do I want it in relation to as far as the pipe layer goes, where do I want it in relation to the hole being cut? So right now, the tip of the subsoiler is on the ground. So that means if my tractor was dragging it straight forward, it would be cutting at this level on the ground here on the concrete. And that means my pipe layer would be scraping the very bottom of the hole that the subsoiler blade is cutting. So I'm not sure I want that, because if there's some rock that it pops over or some kind of, I don't know, I just imagine this being smashed up and crunched. So I think what I'm going to do is raise this up a little bit, maybe just an inch or so, and that way the pipe can end up, or at least it'll minimize damage to the pipe layer. The other thing is, how about the height? Now the top of the, sorry, I'm going to do this by hand, it's going to be shaky, but here's the top of the blade, right? And so if I'm dragging it through the dirt, that means the top of the hole that it's cutting is going to be right along here, which if I just raise it up 1 inch or so, or even 1.5 inches, that's still going to be a big enough hole that the top of the pipe layer isn't going to be hitting the top of the hole that this cuts. Okay, so I think I'll just raise it up 1.5 inches, and we'll mark that, and then we'll start burning it in.